Good morning and welcome to the Google Livestream Hangout on Air on Display. I'm Morten and your host today. When I'm not your host, I am account manager in the Danish team looking after our travel clients. Today I brought with me Anjali and Julian, who are display specialists in our Northern Europe team, working with clients across the whole region, across different businesses. Hi guys, how are you?
Oh, good. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Did you have a good weekend?
Yes, I was in your country on the weekend. Yes.
Nice. So I'm Danish, so
Denmark.
I'm happy. You like it?
Yes.
It's good. How about you, Julian?
It was all good. I was road tripping to the south of Dublin.
Nice.
So it was perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Nice. How was the weather?
The weather was so-so. It was a little bit cloudy. Fortunately, it didn't rain as it usually does, but it was okay.
All right, yeah. That's always a good thing. It does rain a lot over here. So today we are having our second out of 5 YouTube live sessions. As I said, the previous session we had was on YouTube for Action. And today we're going to talk about display, mainly smart display campaigns. And over the course of 10 weeks, we are going to launch this data-driven transformation track where we're going to help you see like how you can take your Google Ads account to the next level. We want the sessions to be super interactive. So we have 30 minutes of presentation from you guys, and then we're going to go over to 20 minutes of questions. We already got a lot of questions from you, so we are obviously going to bring them in. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Google live stream. There's a little box up in the top. And just be aware that these questions will be visible for everyone. So if it's something of sensitive, please don't ask it here. Ask it to your account manager. So that is pretty much all the information from my side. So moving on to display.
Perfect. So I think Anjali and myself will talk a little bit more about display and smart display, how we're going to measure it, how we can look at it. And in particular, one of our most exciting products that has already been around for a year is the smart display campaigns. And we'd like to deep dive a little bit more on the product and how you can use it for the holiday season. So starting with the agenda, we first want to cover why should we actually look at display as a channel. Then we're introducing the smart display campaigns. How do they actually work? What should we be careful with? What are the best practices? Then we have some steps on how to create your first campaign if you have never done so. And then we have some Q&A at the end. Then once we kick it off with why display and why should you do it now? So on average, we see that a customer consults 10 sources before actually making a purchase. And these customers use a whole different array of channels, as we call them as advertisers, of course. But of course, for them, it's just a way of spending their time online and navigating the internet. So we have different customer journeys, but in the end, they all convert on your website, at your store. But how do they finally get there? And what channel and what kind of advertisement should you use in the middle? And we hope to kind of help you out. And we already gave a little bit away the answer to that question, which is the smart display campaigns. But we'll talk a little bit more about that as to why. So why should we actually look into display besides spending most of our budgets or most of our time on search? Is because only 4% of the online time that customers are online, or any user in particular, is spent on browsing, looking for information. And actually 96% of the time, people are reading emails, they're browsing content, they're going to social media, watching videos of funny cats on YouTube. And that's why we think it's really strong that once you have all that input from search, that you also leverage that with your other advertising. So just to continue a little bit on search. Search is an incredible strong tool in order to reach your customers and show your message that you want to bring across. But even if you have your search campaigns and you cover as many keywords as possible, you see that of all the searches for your product or for your service, only a fraction of those actually land on your website and then finally convert. So how do we actually talk to that untapped markets, and how can we reach those undecided customers? Because maybe the next time they will choose for you. We actually know that we can reach the majority of these people on the Google Display Network, or as it recently has been rebranded to the Google Display Ads. We can reach that untapped potential, or that untapped market, and make sure that they are aware of you when they're making their next product search or service search for your business or the area that you're operating in. And making sure that at least, even though you're on the second or the third spot in the search engine, that they at least will go for you afterwards because, hey, they recognize your brand, and before they weren't aware that you even existed. Also, we know that the display ads drive value for your business. A recent study of Wharton actually concluded that the online display ads increased site visits of up to 70%, and then actually for conversions of 8%. So that's a huge number for display campaigns to have that as an assisted kind of value next to other campaign channels that you're doing. And this study hasn't done only on display ads, it was in the mix of more campaign times running live. So it was not unbiased scenario, it was with all the other marketing channels going live. So I think it's really interesting to see where we can use display ads across the different steps in the funnel. But in order to find our audiences on the internet, how should we go about it? And that's where I want to ask Anjali to cover the first couple of slides on Smart Display.
For sure. So how do you find these audiences that we just talked about on Google? We provide a wide array of options to choose your targeting from. So this is Google's See, Think, Do, Care network. You can choose your audiences as shallow as an upper funnel as demographics and affinity, but you can go as deep as remarketing, and you have all these targeting options available in the standard campaigns. But this looks very complex, doesn't it? So we have a solution to make it more simple and simplest actually through Smart Display Campaigns. What are Smart Display Campaigns actually? Smart Display Campaigns, as the name suggests, are a mix of smart bidding, automatic targeting, and automatic creatives. So these campaigns are built for simplicity and transparency. We will go through all these three pillars in much more detail, but let's cover first what it requires to make a Smart Display Campaign. So you only have to provide the three options or requirements on the left, and we deliver what is on the right. So you provide us the target CPA, the campaign budget, and the creative assets in order to create the campaign. And we deliver what inventory you would serve on, what would be the right bid for each user, and how to build creatives based on your creative assets, depending on what users like to see and click. So diving into the three pillars that we discussed, the first one is smart bidding. So smart bidding is based on machine learning. But let's keep in mind, not all machine learning is same. So smart bidding relies on Google Brain to power out our machine learning algorithms, and it has an unmatched scale. So it learns not only from just the display campaigns, it also learns from search, YouTube, and shopping campaigns. The more signals you provide, the better is our bidding, and hence, when you use smart bidding as compared to the manual bidding, you use signals such as, is a user cross-device? What is the hyperlocal geo signals that you are getting? It is highly targeted towards user interests. It takes into the in-market data, the demo infographics, and information, and so on. The second pillar is automated targeting. So as you move up the funnel, we take and look into your AdWords data, the site content. You have remarketing lists in your account that we take care of and understand from the audience interests, from the people who are clicking on the ads and going to the website, your landing page, the keywords that you provide as part of your ad assets, the creative assets, and so on. We take all this information into account and predict a combination of targeting. So we reach out to all upper funnel targeting and lower funnel targeting. Based on the bid that you provide us, we go more upper funnel or lower funnel, limiting the reach to make sure that you reach your performance levels. And we target similar audiences, keywords, in-market, remarketing, topics, placements. It basically covers all the targeting options that we saw in the previous slide.
And I think one thing that's super interesting here is that besides setting up the campaign and the assets, the ads, you really don't have to do anything in order to reach the different types of audiences. We'll just look into in your account, look at your shopping campaigns. What are the search terms that people convert for? What are the keywords in your search campaigns that people convert on? What kind of in-market audience list did these people were those people on before they converted and came to your website? And basically, I think the beauty of it is that you really don't have to do anything in order to leverage all of this in just one campaign type.
Yeah. Which also probably makes us question how it would work before providing any of the assets, and we'd go through that further. But how it actually works is that it experiments and it learns much faster and better than your other standard campaigns. And this is the third pillar, the automatic ads. So you provide us the building blocks, which are on the left side. You give us marketing images, the logo, the headlines, and description lines. And we use a combination of all these and do multiple permutations and combinations to come up with your final ads, which can serve as native, image, and text ads on desktop, mobile, and tablet, everything. This is an example of how your ads would look like. So the text ad, the image ad, and native ad. And we do multiple permutations and combinations, and also are able to learn and predict which of these assets would work better than other assets, and target those assets and show them more than the other assets that are not performing as well.
And also with these creatives, you're able to leverage 100% of the network that we're offering. So you have the text, you have the image and native. Basically, that is everything that the publishers on the AdSense network, which is the version that publishers use on their site to put ads on their website. We have the opportunity to reach all of that with the smart display ads, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, and in addition to that, you reach Google's exclusive owned and operated properties such as Gmail and YouTube, both of which have more than 1 billion plus users. You also have access to, of course, like Julian said, the AdX inventory with 3 million plus websites, also targeting most of the premium inventory. And because it serves across the funnel and also does remarketing, you are able to reach third-party exchanges for your remarketing users. Let's talk about the advantages of smart display campaigns. So like we already discussed, you are able to target low and mid funnel both, depending on your just bid. We are able to understand what your performance objectives are, and we reach out more inventory or limit the inventory on the basis of where we are today and where we want to reach in terms of your target CPA goal or the ROAS goal. The second one is easy setup. Like we discussed, you only have to provide 3 inputs, the CPA, the bid, and creative assets. And it takes only probably just 5 minutes to set it up. And it has a faster ramp up as compared to the standard campaigns because of our experimenting algorithms. You only have to add 1 ad group for multiple categories. So if you are selling multiple different categories like shoes and clothing and accessories, you can set up just different ad assets for each of these categories, and we understand which user would be more interested in which category and show an ad from that particular ad. It is very performance oriented. So we make sure that you reach your performance targets. And if you're not meeting your performance targets, we give that feedback to you in terms of the campaign not ramping up and dying down, and so that we don't spend your budget on not so good performance. And the best part is it works with pay for conversions today. Apart from ROAS and CPA as well. So you can say that I want to pay only $20 for each conversion. And in terms of the billing, you would only have to pay for number of conversions multiplied by the CPA target that you define.
So basically, it's a risk-free way of stepping into display as well, given that you only have to pay per conversion that is charged in the AdWords account. Or in the Google Ads account, the conversions that are there in the column, it will only be charged for that particular conversion. And even if it costs us more to actually get that conversion, you'll not have that risk as an advertiser. We make that agreement upfront with the advertiser to say, okay, we feel comfortable with our smart bidding and with our algorithms to actually hit that performance goal. So we'll take that risk in the beginning, and then up until a certain point when we actually reach it, then we are fair to the advertiser, and then we can just start from there.
And the last and my favorite part is dynamic prospecting ads. So only by attaching your feed to the campaign, which you probably would already have if you're doing shopping, we are able to predict what the user would be interested in and show a dynamic ad instead of the static banners. So it adds a little bit of customization and tailorizes the ad for each user. For example, if Julian is interested in shoes versus if I am interested in clothing, and we have a static banner, we are able to pick up signals based on Julian's browsing history and interests, and he would see an ad for shoes versus I would see an ad for clothing. And if we do not have any signals, we will still be able to predict that Julian, being a guy, would be shown men's products versus I will be shown women's products, or vice versa based on our interests and browsing history. And with all these different features, we've seen that advertisers see 20% more conversions at the same CPA when compared to their standard display campaigns if you utilize smart display campaigns, which is a big proposition for smart display campaigns. And let's talk about some best practices now. As easy it is to set up smart display campaigns, it is important that we follow these best practices so as to be able to have good scale with smart display campaigns and make them work. One of the requirements is to have at least 50 GDN conversions or 100 search conversions before we launch a smart display campaign. This is a requirement because we are experimenting, so it's easier for us to learn from the existing conversions, get those signals about what are the kind of users who are converting, what are the kind of users who are not converting, which products work best, and so on. The second best practice is to have your target CPA at least twice your search CPA. It's good to note that we are going more upper funnel, trying to find audiences who have never seen your brand, and because you're making them aware and also making them convert, it's a long process. So we require you to put a CPA which is at least twice your search CPA. Your budget should be twice your target CPA so that we can test efficiently. This caters to approximately having 2 conversions a day, which is like a minimum requirement for having the minimum conversion so that we can automatically predict the bids and the ads and so on. And then
for the ones that already tested Smart Display maybe beforehand, we actually brought down the budget requirement from 20 times your CPA to now only 2 times, because our Smart Display campaigns have been around for a year and they had the opportunity to reiterate itself, and now we're more confident to also say that we can do it with only 2 times your target CPA, which makes it also a lot easier for you also to launch the campaign, because we also realize that it's a big budget that you need to put into Smart Display campaigns, and hopefully this will lower the thresholds for testing this amazing product.
Great, thank you for adding. Also, it's very important to make sure that we have at least 5 creative assets of each type. So because we are learning by doing a lot of experiments. We need a lot of data to learn from. If you have less creative assets, we are unable to provide different combinations to different set of users to understand what would work best. What happens if you provide multiple creatives is you also see performance, how each creative is performing against each other, and it shows best, good, low, or learning. So you can rotate out the low creatives for the good performing ones further down the line when your campaign shows how each one is performing. It's very important to note that the smart display campaigns take 1 to 2 weeks to stabilize and 4 to 5 weeks to assess performance. So we should not really judge the performance in the initial 1 to 2 weeks because it's still learning, it's still ramping up. And while accessing the performance is good, to ignore the performance of the first 2 weeks because that was not when the campaign really had all the signals that it needed to work against. You should set a realistic CPA for display activity. Like we said, a ballpark would be double the search CPA, even higher if you have a wide range of CPAs on your website or wide range of conversion values on your website. Be aware of your conversion lag. One of the things that some advertisers see is that the campaign does not really perform if it has a very high conversion lag because there are too few conversions coming in the campaign and the campaign thinks that it's not performing, so it dials down. One of the things that we suggest to you, if you have a high conversion lag, is to set up a micro conversion on the website. So you're making users reach a cart page or a lead form page instead of the final purchase page. So we have a volume of conversions and we are able to direct more users towards a shallow conversion than towards the final conversion. It is still acting as a dummy conversion and giving data to the campaign and not dying down.
Just a question maybe for thinking out loud for the users or the people back home. What is a conversion lag? What does it stand for?
Okay, conversion lag is the time that it takes from a user clicking on the ad first to finally converting. It can be really long for some advertisers, for example, who are selling insurance because people take time to think about it, or if the actual objects that they're purchasing are of super high conversion value, such as furniture. It can be less for things like clothing or shoes, which you can buy with lesser money. So it differs for different advertisers.
I think one of the recent changes that we made to the Google Ads interface is that are also able to go to a campaign and segment on the days to conversion, so you can exactly know how long it actually takes before, on average, that a user clicks on the ad and converts on your website on the display campaign, and take that in consideration, because if it takes, for example, 2 weeks, then the conversions are still coming in and the CPA will go down over time. So in that, it would be a best case to also kind of look at the campaign performance without a conversion lag, and then you will realize what your actual target CPA is.
Also, it's very important to note that we should not rotate out all the creatives at once. I already discussed that you would have some performance against creatives. There would be some good, bad, best, and low. You need to rotate out the low ones with the good ones, but let's not rotate everything at once because it deletes the history of the ads and we are then starting from scratch again. And similarly, it's good to make the bid and budget changes to minimum. It's minimum once or maximum once a week. Why we suggest this is, again, because if you make any changes, it triggers experimentation and learning again, because now your objective has changed for the campaign. So it resets and adds some volatility to the campaign, which is not always great if you are looking for performance in short term. So it is recommended to keep these changes to minimum. So what are the next steps, and why we're discussing this today is to already be prepared for the time of the year when your sales are going to be at the maximum. We want your users to already know about your brand before they're searching for your brand, because otherwise they do not know that you existed, like Julian said. So it's good to start it today. the first step would be to check if your website already has conversion tag, which is a requirement for setting up smart display campaigns because you're focusing on the performance. It would be great, not a mandate, but good to have your remarketing tags on the website as well, because then we're able to target across the funnel and also reach your remarketing users. So you launch your smart display campaign today after checking the requirements, and your campaign would already have collected some data and would be performing at peak levels 4 weeks down the line. By then, when you would be ready for your offer sales and seasonal sales, and then you can remarket to those users that you have reached out to by showing them prospecting ads through remarketing campaigns, or again through smart display campaigns, and utilizing the full potential of display by reaching these audiences and gaining access to more audiences by understanding the audience insights that you get from smart display campaigns. And then the question arises of, how do I measure display? Is it just AdWords or is it something else? I would hand it over to Julian to discuss more about measuring display performance.
Perfect. So as the smart display campaigns has been set up in the Google Ads interface, typically we only look at the attribution models that live there, and that is the last click attribution. And we really want to take you on a little journey to kind of see what are different ways of also looking at display and seeing if it performs for your brand or for you as a business. Does it actually drive sales? So let me just get started with clicks don't tell the whole story. On average, we only have lesser than 1% of the people to click on a display ad when they see them. So the global click-through rate is actually lower than 1%. But that doesn't mean that you don't see those banners and make sure that your brand is top of mind when you actually see the advertisement. So in this complex story, we're trying to tell you that there are a lot of impressions next to clicks on our consumer journey throughout the See, Think, Do, Care framework that you're probably familiar with already. And they do influence the purchase intent when we look at it, and when you'll also be able to look at it, for example, in Google Analytics. So before we go a little bit deeper, we would like to play a little game on to see who gets the credit here in this conversion path. So here we have a Google Ads default reporting. So nothing has changed in the Google Ads interface. And then we show these advertisements to the user. First, we have a display impression. Then we have a search click. We have a GDN click. We have a remarketing impression. And then finally, the user has also a branded keywords click, search click, and then finally a GDN impression.
That's complex, isn't it?
It's a complex journey, and you see that where smart display campaign or any other display campaign type might influence the behavior of a consumer before they actually convert on your website.
So who gets the reporting?
So under the normal reporting, only the branded search campaign would actually get the conversion or the conversion in AdWords, and none of the other interactions of the display campaigns actually had any value to the system. Whereas if we look at this funnel or at this as this conversion path of a user, we know that probably is not the right thing to do.
But what happens if I'm using data-driven conversion on AdWords?
If you use any attribution model, still nothing would happen. The attribution model will just look at the search campaigns, because unfortunately we're not able to kind of have the GDN clicks in the data-driven attribution model when we're looking at the Google Ads default reporting. And that's why it's so crucial to also look at display at a slightly different way when we're looking at its performance. And also, just to highlight another problem is that when we look at the correlation, between impressions and clicks on display ads, we typically see that actually there is a higher correlation when people actually view an ad and purchasing on your website versus clicking on your ads. So I think that is also really interesting, given that we found out actually internally through a survey or a study of ours. And of course, this leads to missed opportunities when we only look at the click conversions.
And just a quick question in terms of the previous slide, Julian. So how do I go in my account and see the click-through conversions and the view-through conversions?
Excellent question. So typically when you look at conversions as a column, as you would do, for example, with church, that typically only includes click conversions. So there you already understand immediately, okay, these are the last click conversions that my display campaign actually got. And then we have an opportunity to also go and add another column that shows you the view-through conversions separately to the click conversions. And then you have a better understanding of if your campaign actually drove view-through conversions.
Okay, cool.
And then for the ones that want to take it even step it up a notch, we also have Google Analytics, where you can actually look at the impressions on the path to conversion. So in AdWords, we're able to report on whether someone saw an ad and then later converted on the website. But actually in Google Analytics, we're able to also see where that interaction was and make rules or models based on where the interaction in the conversion path was. So you can have a better understanding, was it the first impression that actually led them to later go to my website and to purchase something? You'll be able to make those analyses and then have a complete understanding of what the display campaign actually did. So hence the name also of the title here on the slide is the full value of display campaigns can really be figured out when you connect also Google Analytics to your Google Ads account. At the moment, this is in beta for the viewers back home, but your account manager will be able to whitelist you for it. There is no turnaround time. We're able to immediately activate it in your account, and you will start getting those impressions in your account and then start reporting on them, which I think is really cool.
Is it available for everyone?
It's available for everyone. Just reach out to your Google representative, and we'll be able to figure out how to enable this in your Google Analytics account.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the last couple of minutes we can go over how we can actually create a smart display campaign, and then we jump right to the questions. So is it okay?
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Yeah, very quickly, how to create smart display campaigns. Like I said, won't take more than 5 minutes to set it up. So it would be unjust if I take more than 5 minutes to go through it. So quickly going through it, you just click on create a smart display campaign. These are the requirements like we discussed. You have to have 50 conversions in your display campaigns or 100 conversions in all campaigns combined. When you say create smart display campaign, this is the new interface. You'd see an option to choose the objective, which is sales. And then you say, instead of standard display campaign, the second option, which is smart display campaign. You will have the next interface to set up your target CPA and the budget. Like we discussed, the CPA should be twice the search CPA, and your budget should be twice the CPA at least. And then you make just you go over to the wizard where it shows you the options to upload your creative assets and add description lines and headlines and marketing images, logos, etc. So you
sorry.
Yeah.
So sorry, this is it's a crucial part of creating a smart display campaign, because this is the only thing that an advertiser actually needs to do to set up the smart display campaign, besides setting the bits. So please, when you set it up, utilize all the headlines, all the descriptions, find the right final URL, and add as many images that is related to the advertisement that you want to have live, because it will just yield the best results.
Exactly. And it also provides the option to experiment with the kind of marketing images, headlines, and description lines you can actually come up with and reach out to your users with. So you can add different marketing images and test them, and you would know which actually performs better than the others. And that's it.
I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in today, and thank you, Anjali and Julian, for joining us as well. Our next session will be on the 15th of October on automation and bidding. So that will be super interesting. So I hope you guys will have time to tune in there as well. And then I just wish you a very good Monday and a good rest of the week. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.